This month we have a new theme. We've called it I Have Decided, and we're looking at the importance, the power of decisions, how a decision can change your life. I used a quote from a Robert Frost's poem about two paths in a wood diverged, and I took the one less trod upon. This idea that a decision, whichever way your decision go, you're pushing over a series of dominoes. The other day on YouTube I saw the largest ever domino exhibition where they pushed over a domino and it set all these dominoes, and it went for over an hour, and I think there were 7.5 million dominoes in this particular deal, and it was kind of amazing that people would spend that much time on something that's going to be over like that. But it reminds me how life's a series of dominoes, and the decision you make, the way you treat people, the way we respond to God, whatever we do leads to something else. There are consequences and there are decisions. And, we want to blame something else other than ourselves. And much of life is our own decisions, how we respond to stuff. And the stuff we cannot control, things that go terribly wrong, we are responsible for how we react to that, how we respond to it, whether we get grumbling and complaining about it all, or do we actually try to find another side to it. Decisions we make change us, and the Bible says a whole lot about the power and the importance of decisions. So I'm going to kind of summarize my message I did in the other services down to about 5 minutes, and then we're going to move into an interview, which is going to be a reflection and really an example of the power, the wonder of decisions. And so let's get our mind thinking about that. Said there are a couple of dangers in decisions. Either the decision not to make decisions. I used to be indecisive, but now I'm not sure. That idea of we oscillate between two different deals, and we think, well, I'm not sure which way, so I won't go anywhere, which in itself is a decision. Sometimes you just got to make a decision. Even if it's the wrong decision, make the decision, and then you quickly work out, no, that was wrong. You can put it in reverse, back out, and go the right way, rather than sitting. Gandalf, when he was halfway across Moria and they came to 3 pathways, he could have sat there till the end of the book and that would have been it. And the book wouldn't have been a very good book. It would have just been boring chapter, something like Proust or something. It would just went, what's this about? But no, he made a decision. If he'd gone the wrong way, they would have worked it out. They would have had an adventure, goblins would have attacked, and they would have escaped, and then, Gandalf's thing would work, and yay, new chapter. Life's about decisions, about going for it, not sitting around doing nothing. We're not meant to be in neutral. We're meant to be in gear, moving forward. And isn't it interesting? The Bible says, these signs shall follow them that believe. Implication, we're meant to be going somewhere. We're meant to be moving forward. We're meant to be led by the Spirit. You can't follow someone who's stationary, can you? Like that song, Following the Leader, the leader, the leader. We've got to keep moving. There's got to be action. There's got to be life about us. And quite a few of the verses talked about the importance of choice that we have. Let's just read a couple of those verses. Bring on whatever you got there, Joel. Get wisdom, it's worth more than money. Choose insight over income. Important decision about finances. What's most important? Is it about getting a lot of money and having a big super payout, or is it actually about getting wisdom, which is more important? Is it possible to have both? But the point is we've got to make decisions about these pragmatic areas. Bring up another verse. My counsel is this: live freely, animated and motivated by God's Spirit. When you won't feed the compulsions of selfishness, then you won't feed the compulsions of selfishness. For there is a root of sinful self-interest in us that is at odds with a free spirit. Just as the free spirit is incompatible with selfishness, these two ways of life are antithetical, so that you cannot live at times one way and in times another way, according to how you feel on any given day. Why don't you choose to be led by the Spirit and so escape the erratic compulsions of a law-dominated existence? It comes down to the choices we make, the choice to follow Christ, the choice to how we react to temptations and the like. Do we have any other verses, or just those ones? Just those ones we decided to look at. So we said the dangers of decisions is the indecision deal. And then secondly, I said that the other danger is to confuse large decisions with small decisions. How we live in a culture which almost makes our mind up for us, but gives us the illusion that we're actually making the decision ourselves. We're going to wear a certain outfit. We're going to drive a certain car, and that was our decision. But actually, no, we were conditioned. I saw an interview a while back about a top of London's 2 graphic designers, and they gave them a project to come up with an advertising campaign for a certain product. Now, they knew they were going to be doing something. They didn't know what. They were picked up in a car, driven to where they were going to be, sat down. The guy said, I want you to do an advertising campaign. You've got 1 minute, not 1 minute, one hour to come up with this campaign. and it's on this subject. Gave him the subject, and he said, "I've still got an envelope here. Don't touch that envelope." And so these were two guys leading some big agencies. So they sat and they talked, and they came up with this whole concept of an advertising. He said, "That's very interesting." He went through it all. He said, "But now open the envelope." And open the envelope, and he had in the envelope the same concept. And they're going, "Well, how did you do that?" And he said, "Because we put posters along the pathway. In the car, we had a magazine open to a certain thing. We had a whole lot of subliminal stuff going on, which gave you the idea, so you thought you were coming up with this campaign about a rabbit that was pregnant or whatever it was. But actually, we set you up because we tend to believe what we're surrounded by. We pick up the nuances of the culture. We think we're making a decision, but actually the culture makes the decision for us in many cases. How we treat people, how we dress, how we drive, how we react to situations. Sometimes the current of our culture is going the same direction as God wants us to go. Philanthropy and a lot of good stuff, but then sometimes the culture is going antithetically against us, and we've got to recognize that. I quoted a bit from Zizek, the philosopher, who talked about that. If you noticed in a lift, in the elevator, it has lots of buttons on the lift, and the floor ones are okay, but there's one button which I tend to push the most. Whenever I'm in an elevator, because I'm an impatient person, it's the closed doors button. Some lifts don't have that. I get so frustrated. But then there's the one with the closed button and closed door button. Now, if you notice, if you hit that button, what happens? Well, when I hit that button, most of the time the doors don't close. And I have to hit it 2, 3, 4, and then they close. It gives me the sense that I'm in control of my life because I push the button, the doors close. But actually, the button doesn't work. It's not even wide up. The lift's going to stay open for 5 seconds or 7 seconds, whatever it stays, and then it closes. But they put a closed door button in there just to give you the impression that you're making decisions, that you're in control, and you're going somewhere, Fred. But actually, the lift makes the decision to go when it wants to go. Kind of depressing, isn't it? Lots of life. And so we have this illusion. Now, I reckon decisions do that. We think we're making decisions, but we're making what we think are big decisions, but actually they're little decisions. Really, what car you drive, where you work, a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah, they're decisions, and yeah, they'll have impact, but they're minor compared to other decisions which we think are minor, but are actually the big one. And I used a couple of examples. The decision to have muesli every morning rather than bacon and eggs. Little decision, you think, but no, that could add 5 to 10 years to your life. Big decision. Decision to go and get that medical checkup you've been thinking about would be a decision along a similar vein. The decision to actually look up every word that you don't understand, write it down and try to learn it. Increasing your vocabulary is a minor decision, or so it seems, but that can change your life. The decisions that we often face to fight selfishness, to not have that second drink when you think, oh, it's only another drink. Decision then is highly significant, and it's a big decision because it becomes a habitude. Becomes a habitude. It does. That's one of those big words, Habitude. Let's consult together, shall we? Consulting was the big word I used today. It's the new word I learned last week. It means to a large group of people doing something stupid together. They are consulting. How many here have consulted before? Yeah. How many are doing it right this very second? Well, putting our hands up is kind of stupid, isn't it? Okay, so the danger of decision making is either we don't make a decision when we need to, or we think we are making decisions, but we're only making decisions about the peripheral stuff that doesn't really make any difference. And we don't make decisions about our attitude of negativity, about our selfishness, about our stinginess, about how we criticize, about how we gossip. Some people, their big problem is gossip. They want to talk to people all the time, gossip, negativity, pulling other people down because they don't feel good about themselves. And you've got a low self-esteem, and so the way you feel better is to find out something that someone else has done which is bad, tell other people, and you get kind of a buzz out of that because suddenly you're not so bad, look at that person. But that is a product of dysfunction, and God wants to help and heal and bring truth to that, but the decision to say, I'm not going to gossip, God help me, I want to fight that. This year, I want to improve on that continuum. That, my friends, is a big decision. And it gives you control back of your life with God's help. And I talked about the classic decision wrote a book on 7 classic decisions. But the first one I talked about this weekend has been decision number 1, which changed my life and will change your life and probably already has, is the decision very simply about following. Who are you going to follow in life? What's your life about? Is it a self-made journey, or has someone gone ahead and done a map? The decision to follow Christ. And this word following Christ is the primary way I like to describe Christianity. It's about following Christ. Are you a Christian or not is really kind of a bad question today, because people kind of think of Christian in terms of a list of things that they actually believe that don't live out, or it's sort of I go to that particular church. But actually, the acid test is, who are you following? Are you saying you're following Christ? I'm a Christian, but you're actually not actually following Christ. Showed a painting of an artist whose name is so well known that it escapes me at this moment. James Ensor, who I think painted this in the 1920s, but I could be wrong on that. This painting was called Jesus' Triumphant Entry into Brussels. Jesus' Triumphant Entry into Brussels. And it's a good painting, a clever painting. And someone else saw that in America and kind of did an American, more contemporary version, this painting here, which is Jesus' Triumphant Entry into Washington. And there's something that'll strike you about those paintings when you start looking at it. Because you look in, there's a big crowd of people, but then you try to match the painting with the title of the painting. And the point is Jesus there? If this is his triumphal entry, you expect to see him. Well, actually, he is there. And I pointed him out to the crowds in the other services that if you go to the A of America on the banner and go down about 4 rows, Jesus is wearing red and he's got like a golden halo, if you notice that. There's Jesus, just there. And if you go to the other painting, he's in about the same location. Now the halo's a golden kind of colour there, and it's a little more of an orangey kind of deal, but the point is, it's hard to find Jesus. He's there, hard to find. How many people say they follow Christ, but if you look at their life, you look at everything they're doing, hard to find? Because there's a whole smorgasbord of personalities and people and philosophies and ideas all there. Oh yeah, I follow Jesus, and yeah, no, but you have to go through their life and find detail to actually find him. I think if we're following Jesus, he should be, if the painting's about him, he should be in the middle. He should be front and central. It should be obvious that we are following him, not, oh yeah, he's part of the crowd, you know. Yeah, I have Jesus. Yeah, it's good, cool. Yeah, Jesus. Back here somewhere, you know. He's in my painting. Fantastic. Someone says, where is he? Well, where's he gone? He's gone. He's gone. He went. He left. He left the party. Well, he's not, he's not following you. You're meant to be following him. If you're going to follow him, you've got to stay close to him. You've got to listen. You've got to watch. You've got to stay vigilant. You've got to be attentive. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. That means I'm going to stay close to him and listening. When he moves, I move. And if I do that, then I'll lay down beside green pastures and good things. And an enemy's going to come, but he's going to be with me, protecting me. His rod and staff, and he'll prepare a table before me. Surely, goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life. All of that is based on that first decisive line of declaration. I have decided to make God my shepherd. So following Christ is actually an active thing. It's a lifestyle thing. It's a how I spend my day thing. It's about how I spend my money thing. It's about making sure I'm going to spend time talking to him. Prayer, we call it. I like to call it going online with God. If you God sending email to you all the time, but if you never go online, you never get it. Oh, I wonder where Jesus is. Well, turn your computer on. Go online. And sometimes you're online and it seems like no emails come. But then other times you go online and there's quite a few there. You never can tell. But if you go online every day, you will start receiving communication from above. It's about following Christ. So we talked about that. We talked about that primary decision of following Christ. Now, having said all that, we've been interviewing someone over the day and talking about how decisions have affected their life for good and for evil, and how even when we make the wrong decision, if we have a humble heart and if we cry out to God, he comes and redeems the decisions that we got so wrong and changes us and helps us get back on the right path. And so we're going to continue that interview. For most of you weren't here at any other service, so we're going to cover some things that we covered before, but we're going to be able to spend, rather than 10 minutes, at least half an hour talking to what is, I think you'll agree, a fascinating guest. So I'm going to invite Dr. Charles Slack to come back up on the platform. And how about all of us give him a warm hand? I had a bottle of water I lost somewhere. Oh, just thirsty. It's hot. Do you realise it's about 10 degrees hotter up here than down there? Well, we're not going to come down there, because then we can't be seen. Yeah, see? Now, first thing we've been saying is happy birthday to you, by the way.
Yes, happy birthday to you.
Because birthday January the 2nd, and Charles became 80. January 2nd, that's good.
And when's your birthday?
Hey?
Your birthday.
And my birthday is January the 2nd as well. And thank you. And I became I'm 39, so that's fantastic. Add 10.
Son.
Yeah. Yes. So, it's great to have you here. Thanks for coming along.
It's wonderful to be
service
here.
number 4 you've been
Yeah.
But this time we can spend a little bit more time
Good,
in investigating your story, because you're obviously, by your accent, you're not from around here.
No.
You live around here, though. Well,
Oh,
around
yes.
here. Where do you live?
Scarborough Beach. We all talk like this in Scarborough Beach. You didn't know that, no?
So you divide your time between Scarborough
The
Beach.
beach and Greenhead.
Now, Greenhead, for those of you who don't know, is up the coast.
Yeah, 300 kilometers north of here, between Jurien Bay and Lehman. It's a little crayfishing village.
And
there.
you pastor what you call the world's smallest church up there.
That's right. Greenhead Christian Fellowship. Co-pastor with Sue, my wife.
Sue, welcome, Sue. Good to have you here.
Sue does a lot of the work,
Yeah.
believe me. Yeah.
And we were just talking about the chat that you have about 5 or 6 people who regularly come to the church.
That's right.
With the population base is like
300 people
Well, 300
or less.
people. So that's what's that? 1% or 2%?
Yeah.
2%. If we had that, we'd have like 30,000 people. So you're doing really well.
We're doing really well in Greenhead.
But the
We
reason.
get visitors, of course.
Okay, so if you're in Greenhead, drop in. Greenhead Christian Fellowship. Okay.
We meet in the town hall on Sunday.
Well,
Yes.
there's a town hall in Greenhead.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yes, there is. Very nice, actually.
We're probably not going to spend the rest of the time talking about Greenhead, though.
No. Okay. All right.
The reason I'm interested in talking to you because you've had this fascinating life. You're 80 years of age, which means you would have learned some things along the way. And the decision moments of life tend to be the most instructive. Now, as a young boy, your first memories were, well, your dad was the one that kind of moved the family around. Where was your dad? What area of
Okay, I
America?
come from a family of really top scientists and engineers. My younger brother now is a full professor at Harvard. My father was a nuclear physicist. My uncle Francis was the chairman of the physics department at a big university, Vanderbilt University in the U.S.
Yeah.
And so my whole family were into science. You sort of had to get a PhD.
Of course.
If you were a slack.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean what there in America. It only means loose, like rope.
Okay.
It does not mean immoral, lazy, though that's only in Australia. And UK that it means.
Welcome to Australia.
Yeah, that's right.
So you grew up in this pretty heady intellectual environment,
Yeah.
though you wouldn't have known any different, because that's the way it was.
That's right.
Now, your dad was working in a mysterious job in that you didn't realise what he was doing till you were a bit older.
That's right, because it was all classified, they call it. It was secret.
Yeah.
It so happened that he had was one of the first experimental physicists to really use the metal uranium for any real practical purpose. Okay. And he invented an X-ray tube that used uranium as a target to produce X-rays. Okay. And he put Westinghouse into the X-ray business during the Depression, which made a lot of money for Westinghouse. So Westinghouse really liked my father. But they were the only place in America that was refining uranium when the Manhattan Project came along.
Where was the actual raw uranium coming from?
Oh, the yellow cake was coming from Australia,
Okay,
of course.
okay.
Yeah, and some from Canada, but mostly from Australia.
So he's doing this. So you thought he worked for Westinghouse, which he did.
The lamp division. Yeah.
The lamp division.
That's right.
And that's as far as you're aware.
That's all that I knew.
But then you began to get an inkling there was more to this.
Well, that's right.
What was he actually doing as well?
Well, he was refining the uranium that was used in the manufacture of the first atom bomb. Okay. Plus his X-ray tubes were used, X-ray pictures were taken through metal to design the mechanics of the atom bomb. Because you have to photograph it as it comes together and to make the explosion and so on.
The men, I was going to say and women, but nearly all the photos I've seen have been men. But there was a small group of elite scientists working together at that time.
That's right.
Exactly where you're at there.
That's right.
Was that now Princeton? Was that or?
Well, this was Bloomfield, New Jersey, which is 50 miles north of Princeton. But and within that area, there the inventors. All my friends. Fathers were inventors and so on. I mean, they worked either for Edison. Edison had his laboratory there, and Bell Labs, where the transistor was invented.
So
was
in that inner circle of people, there's probably a name everyone knows, and then there's a few names there that some people wouldn't know. Just run through maybe just some of the people that you, as a young boy, and I guess you were going into being a teenager, that you remember around the place.
Well, the big name, of course, is Albert Einstein, which we know, but also Thomas Edison, the Dumont, Alan B. Dumont, the one that credited with inventing TV,
Okay.
the TV tube. There were just like lots of them.
Is it Feynman or Feynman? I think we've got a picture.
Oh, Feynman, the
We've got a picture
mathematician.
of Feynman there. Feynman, he's that guy there.
Yeah, Feynman.
Feynman,
Yeah, he was a mathematician at Princeton. Yeah.
Okay. So, but coming back to Einstein, we got the first picture of Einstein here.
Yeah.
And that's sort of the classical picture, isn't it? Was he kind of, when you knew him, he would have been what age?
Well, he was born. He was born in 1879.
Wow.
And he died in 1955. I knew him. When I say I knew him, he was wandering around Princeton all the time, and anybody could talk to him. There was no security or anything in those days.
And you told me a story about once you were on the bus with Einstein.
Oh yeah, that's right. Einstein actually didn't work at the university. He worked at the Institute for Advanced Study, which was the first think tank.
Okay.
In the world, as far as I know, where you just get paid to do nothing, and except think.
Okay, yeah.
Well, Bob Abelson and I were standing one time looking across the golf course at Princeton at the Institute. It was at Christmas time, and there were no footprints going in or out. And so Bob was really impressed because he thought they were all in there and they never come out, you see.
Yeah.
And I thought, no, they're not in there. They haven't gone in, you know. Depending on the glass is full or the glass is empty type of thing.
So Einstein on the bus and...
Einstein, we're riding on this jitney bus that went regularly 2 or 3 times a day from Princeton campus to the Institute for Advanced Study. And the thing is, nobody ever spoke on this bus. Because you didn't know. You might be sitting next to a calculator salesman, or you might be sitting next to Niels Bohr. You didn't, maybe it's an important person. So people tended to be very silent, very reverent. But I had a job at the Institute, a minor type of job, working for one of the temporary psychologists that were there. And anyway, I was on the bus, and I suddenly heard a loud voice. It says, and it was Einstein. He spoke, and he said, "That cloud looks as if it was made of cardboard." And, Einstein has spoken. And you look out the window, like the bus nearly turned over. Everybody's looking out the window, and there, it's true, there was a totally clear sky, and out on the horizon was this little cloud that did look like it was made of cardboard.
Wow.
Now, what does that mean?
Well, I don't know.
I mean, Einstein said that cloud, wow, is this important? And it's been on my mind ever since, what is it? I finally came to a kind of a conclusion.
Oh, good.
Somebody pointed out to me that in a kind of spiritual way, Einstein was a surrealist.
Yeah.
He reversed the figure-ground relationships of normal art and perception.
Yeah.
He looked at totally empty space, for example. Not at the objects in space, but at totally empty space. And said somehow that space has properties.
Yeah.
And that's how he came up with the idea that gravity was actually a property of totally empty space.
Yeah.
And that somehow totally empty space had to be created. It had to have a beginning. And so he was looking at things in the kind of reversing the figure-ground relationship. Same thing with time.
Yeah. He's a friend of Salvador Dali and...
Well, I don't know whether he was a friend of his, but I think he came from a time when that kind of reversal of perspective and so on was...
And art and science.
Yeah, that's right.
Another picture of him here, I think, of Einstein. There is in his office. And one more here, to show you.
That's the way he...
Now, to me, he's impish and got a mischievous kind of sense of humor.
Right. Well, he was the first hippie.
Yeah.
I wanted to go with this girl who was the daughter of the consul general from Luxembourg, who lived in my hometown, just an ordinary job. Look, the consular service, not that well paid or anything, but they think they're big stuff. Yeah. And Luxembourg had issued an Einstein commemorative stamp with Einstein's picture on it, and they held this party. And they invited people to come, including Einstein. And he came, which is, that's enough, he came. He wouldn't go to most. But he, of course, dressed in his jumper with the stocking cap, and everybody else was dressed in at least black tuxedos and so on. So the consul general, since I was going to Princeton, he started blaming me for the way Einstein was dressed. How come they would allow Einstein to come to this important party and I'm trying to explain to him that Einstein was in the business of, discovering the laws. We all want to dress like Einstein, like maybe if we dress like him, we'll get, discover some important theories.
Now, unlike your dad, you didn't actually get into, you're still interested in physics and string theory and a whole range of things like that. But you got more into the psychological area.
Yeah.
And you got your PhD. In what area was that? That was
in experimental psychology, yeah.
And what was your sort of thesis or thing you were working on for that?
Oh, I was working on, actually my thesis was on one-dimensional human tracking movements, eye-hand coordination. That was my thesis.
Okay. But then, as you began to say, you became the youngest assistant
professor at Harvard, yeah.
Professor at Harvard at the age of 26.
26.
And you and a group of colleagues began to work on a new thing.
Oh, yes.
And
something much more important than one-dimensional human tracking.
Yeah, and that was?
Lysergic acid diethylamide.
Which is?
A drug called LSD.
And so LSD, now most of the names people working there are not that well known, but one person's name is very well known.
Well, Timothy Leary. Richard Nixon called him the most dangerous man in America, I think.
Because there's a lot of, here's a picture of him here.
Yeah.
He's a younger man. I've seen him being interviewed on YouTube, and there's a video of him and stuff like that. That this was at the move when LSD was not just going to be. You were meant to research and study LSD.
Yeah.
But you decided not just to study it, but to actually be part of it yourself, to actually work out what it does.
Well, yeah. If we're going to give it to research subjects, we figured we ought to give it to ourselves.
So you started. You and Timothy and others started taking LSD.
That's right.
And a cocktail of drugs around that.
Well, we began. My first experience with LSD was that I had hallucinations. I saw God in a light bulb, and emerged with a carpet, and had some really intense experiences. But there was one thing I was totally convinced it would never become habit forming. Absolutely not an addictive drug. It wasn't anything like the opiates, not like morphine or heroin or any of those things. Absolutely not habit forming. And so there was no reason why we couldn't take it again next week.
Yes.
Obvious.
Yeah. And how many weeks?
And everybody agreed with us. By the way, the Sandoz Laboratories that was manufacturing it, the Hoffman, the man that discovered it, it's a derivative of a fungus that attacks rye, ergot, and that's where LSD. And by the way, the first time I took LSD, I took 500 micrograms. A microgram is a millionth of a gram. You could not even see the amount of LSD that I took. Yeah. So how could it possibly do any harm?
So how many sort of weeks did you continue this habit or non-habit habit?
Well, it's a progressive disease. If you want to call it a disease. Within 15 years, my career had gone total reverse.
Yeah. So you lost your marriage, you lost your job, you lost your...
Lost my pornography collection. My wife took it to show the judge what a terrible person I was.
Yeah.
I lost my job. Of course, Harvard didn't want us there anymore.
Yeah.
And the last job I had, it was in Birmingham, Alabama, and I was working for the medical center there, where I was writing test items. There's an irony in that too. Writing test items for the doctors that were too busy to write their own exams for their students, and correcting test items. I had a title and a little salary, and then I could get in with the addict doctors, of which there are always some. To get my drugs.
Okay.
That was my last job. And I got fired from that job because I got in trouble with the president's girlfriend.
Okay. So your life was kind of, you're doing like going downhill.
Absolutely.
So you're taking the drugs, you become an addict, you lost everything.
That's right.
And then you're at rock bottom.
That's right.
And then the pathway out of that, because obviously you're not there now.
No, I haven't had any, not a drink or drug, nothing in my blood but blood since the 3rd of March, 1976.
That's great. Okay. But
But I didn't get sane right away either, by the way.
Because your brain was affected. You actually said that you would have been clinically insane.
That's right.
So you were insane.
That's right.
And how do you get out of insanity?
Well, the way I got out of it, I don't have advice for everybody because but I know that my story is that I began to approach normality through prayer. Actually.
But you didn't believe in God, though?
No. Well, I had a sponsor in Alcoholics Anonymous who kept telling me I was crazy. And he kept backing it up by repeating to me the things I had done, like going to an AA meeting and saying, my name is Charles and I'm a psychologist and I'm going to write a book about this experience, which is not the way you do in AA. You're supposed to say, my name is Charles, I'm an alcoholic, and I'm here to... You know. Yeah. And I did things like this, and he kept saying I was crazy. So I said, well, what do I do about it?
No, you actually did write a book, didn't you?
Oh, yeah.
The title of your book?
Was called Timothy Leary, The Madness of the 60s and Me.
So you wrote that book, but then you went back into drugs.
Well, that's it. I thought the way to get clean and sober would be to go public.
Okay.
And if I came and, and went on television to sell my book and told everybody that I was not using
that you'd be anymore. Leveraged not to go.
Yeah, and then I would be really committed to...
Yeah. And
so I did that. I wrote the book got published, and thank God it didn't sell, otherwise I'd probably be dead. The people who loved Leary wouldn't read it because it was slightly critical of Leary, and the people who hated Leary wouldn't read it because they wouldn't read anything about Leary. So the book, it's not a badly written book, it's really pretty good. But I went on television...
The book table is available afterwards. No, we don't have it.
No. You can get it on eBay from anywhere.
I saw one for $160.
Yeah, $160
They must
on
be
eBay.
pretty rare.
You can get a
anyway, so back to the story you're telling then. So the prayer thing.
Yeah.
But you don't believe in God?
No, I didn't. All I told my sponsor told me, he said that the thing I should do to get my sanity back was to put my shoes under the bed, which sounded
inside.
Like one of those enigmatic things that sponsors in AA tell you, whatever. Yeah. Anyway, I said, well, why? And he said, well, first of all, don't ask why. Make sure you do it. Put your shoes under the bed at night. And then in the morning, when you're down on your knees, reaching under the bed to get your shoes, you ask God to restore you to sanity. And I told him I didn't believe in God. And he said, I didn't ask you whether you believed in God. He said, it doesn't matter whether you believe in God. He said, put your shoes under the bed and do this. And so I did, and I went back to him later that week, and I told him, he said, no, you got to do it every night. And so I did. And I did it every night, and I migrated to Australia in the meantime, and I kept doing it. And in the process of doing that, I began to believe in God, in a power greater than myself, which at first I thought was just in me. I didn't really believe that God was real and out there and so on, but that somehow there was something in me that, and that prayer, I was really talking to myself, and somehow it was working. And so I went back. I had a chance to go back to the U.S., and I talked to Jim, again, who was a strip mine machine operator from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, without a PhD, by the way, which, the miracle is that I did what he told me. And so...
Because you would basically just talk to people intellectually, you figured were at that level, and anybody below that, dismissive.
Absolutely. I had all this academic success so young, and I was...
Is it like the film Educating Rita? You've seen that? Educating Rita. Where they're singing in the pub.
I didn't see that film. Maybe.
You didn't see that film? Where are you from? Oh, America. Okay. But they're all singing in the pub in the northern towns of England, and she wants to get educated, so she learns Hamlet, and she goes to Oxford University and all that.
Oh, yeah.
And the professor says, don't you realise we're singing the same song? We're still looking for meaning, just like you're looking for meaning. Yeah. It's a very good point.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right. But it's totally lost. Yeah. Never mind. How many have seen Educating Rita? How many like the film? How many are glad that I brought it up? 3 people.
Well, I'll watch it.
Carry on.
No, my attitude was that I really didn't belong exactly to the human race. I mean, it was nice. I was an alien. It was nice of me to visit you folks down here, but I didn't plan to stay long, and you know, and I had all these degrees, and I'd had all this academic success very young, and so I didn't need to know how to get along with people. That wasn't important.
Yeah.
The important thing was to discover the cure for schizophrenia.
Yeah.
You know, that was the important thing. Or to do something really dramatic that would make me a famous psychologist.
So on the journey back, you started getting honest with yourself.
Yeah.
You started beginning to humble yourself. I mean, even the posture of being on your knees erodes pride,
yeah,
doesn't it?
Before being able to humble myself, I mean, people talk about low self-esteem causing drug addiction. Believe me, nobody has higher self-esteem than an assistant professor at Harvard at the age of 26. I mean, no. But there's also nobody sicker than a sick psychologist. That's the worst you can be, right? So before I could get humble, I had to really be humiliated. And I hated it.
Yeah.
But I had to go through a process of actual, well, even public disgrace in order to
yeah, the public disgrace thing, because we've left out part of your story,
yeah,
which came out over here when you were in Australia. Now, what year was this came out? In the Truth?
In Melbourne Truth newspaper in 1980.
And the headline or the story was basically saying that
I was working for the welfare department of the state of Victoria, and that I had stolen my PhD.
But there was some truth to this.
Absolutely.
In that you actually did...
I made a decision to steal some carbon sheets out of a dustbin in the office of the secretary of the psychology department at Princeton.
Yeah.
These were the days before photocopy machines.
Yes.
So I reached into the wastebasket and I pulled up these carbon sheets.
Were you looking for those things specifically, or were you just curious at that moment?
I thought they might have something interesting on them.
This is when you were being considered to go into the doctoral program.
This was just a week prior to the qualifying exam for the PhD.
So you do a qualifying exam.
Coming up.
Then, if you get through that exam, you
get the PhD.
You then do the PhD.
Yeah. Then you do your thesis, defend your thesis, and then you get your PhD.
So you worked out basically how to find out what the exam was that's going to get you into the program.
What I did was I held those carbon sheets up to the light, and they contained the questions for the qualifying exam. And I scored so high on that exam that I got the leading fellowship and eventually became an assistant professor at Harvard at the age of 26. But nobody knew I'd done this but me and God, and I didn't believe in him.
No, so you're safe. So you were getting, once you got in, I mean, you still sat the exams, you did the thesis, and you passed the course itself.
Oh, yeah. And I wrote a thesis that got published and everything like that.
But whether or not you would have got in or not is you'd never know.
It's a moot question.
You made a decision which you would have... Did you regret that for years after? Was it just sitting there, or did you dismiss it? Did you forget about it? Did you feel like an imposter because of that?
I had all of the above.
Okay.
All of the above. And it preyed on my mind to the point where eventually I had to, well, after I got off drugs and alcohol, I just had to tell somebody about it. And I was working a program that says that you tell God, yourself, and another human being. It's like the book of James, confess your faults one to another.
Yeah.
It doesn't say confess your faults to the Melbourne Truth newspaper. It just says to one to another. But, and the AA program follows that, basically. And it said you tell God, yourself, and another human being the exact nature of your wrongs. And I did that. But then somebody broke my anonymity, and I got people mad at me. I was always getting people angry at me in those days because I came across like the worst tall poppy you can imagine. I really believed that everybody should stop drinking because I had.
Yeah.
And that all the clients of the welfare department of the state of Victoria were drug addicts.
Yeah. Which,
by the way, is not all that wrong. But the social workers did not like my diagnosis. And they were basically trying to get rid of me. They couldn't fire anybody because I hadn't done anything really wrong. But when I admitted that I had cheated on my PhD exam, the word came out in the newspapers, and one of the officials in the department wrote to Princeton to tell them to take back my PhD.
Yeah.
And of course, Princeton sent me a letter saying, what do you want us to do about this?
Yeah.
They said, we've received this very strange letter from this deputy assistant director from and I just never answered that letter.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's where it stands today.
Right.
So that, at last I made this decision, one, that I would tell people the truth, and people could make up their own minds as to what they thought of me, whether I had a PhD or not, or whether,
Now, coming back to your Christian journey, when was the so you moved from atheism to thinking there might be something around, then to deism, to...
No.
What was the moment you actually said, I'm going to follow Christ? Or did it come out in those words?
Well,
or?
I was going through this incredible public disgrace thing. The man who led me to the Lord was a boxer who never graduated from the 6th grade, by the way. And he felt sorry for me. And I said to him at one point, I said, the Age had picked up the story. I was on it was like a little Lindy Chamberlain type of thing that was going on there all the time. And I said, well, what about the public disgrace? And this guy who had been a famous boxer, fought under the name of Jackie Chris. He'd fought 6 champions and all. He said to me, the public. He said, the public is germs. He said, they're germs. Don't worry about the public. He said, the public is a fat man with a big cigar wants me to get killed in the ring. He said, you follow Jesus. Don't worry about the public. God will take care of them.
Yeah.
And that was the only advice. And I said, well, what do I do? He said, well, you've got to get baptized. You've got to he read me like Acts 2:38, which is what Peter told all those people at that time. He said, first you repent. And he said, well, you've admitted that you did this, so you've repented.
Yep.
Then you got to get baptized, and then you got to receive the Holy Spirit, and then you save yourself from this untoward generation. The public will take care of itself. God will handle all that. And so again, I made that decision to do what I was told.
Wow.
I went for baptism. I don't know how big your tank is.
Oh.
But the one I got baptized was a big bathtub, but they said we'll have to do them in sections because I'm so tall.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And by the way, I started fellowshipping in a church that was one of those churches that's almost like a cult. You know, they had 114 regulations in addition to the 10 Commandments and the statutes and so on. But it was like being in a rehab. It was, they had all these rules, and it wasn't bad for me at that particular time.
Yeah.
And I thought I would be preaching and doing being an evangelist to psychologists and so on. Yeah. But that's not been the case. They put me on. I was on foyer duty for 7 years, opening the door. It's better to be a gatekeeper. That's where I learned to join the human race. Yeah. On the foyer of this movie theater that the church owned.
And so now you're 80. You've your wife's here. Your family's been for your kids now. You have a great role. You've built credibility again.
My first wife has totally forgiven me, and my children love me. Oh, they say I was a terrible father because I was.
And you said something now that restoration and that and you changing, you becoming a different person.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So the people who were the most hurt are now the ones that are applauding you the most.
That's
and you
right.
said in all the services associated, you said something about your happiness levels.
I am the happiest person I know. Believe me, I wouldn't want to be doing anything other than what I'm doing now.
Yeah. So life's changed for you and it's been different.
That's right.
Decisions have played an important part, both on the going down and the
what had changed? I had to change inside, and then eventually you, the world, the universe catches up.
So let me ask you...
Not the other way around, by the way.
There's people here who've got different issues and problems, and you've gone through most of those.
Yeah.
So if you give me like a 1-minute response, like the guy or the girl for that matter, but the guy who's got trapped in a pornographic kind of addiction, and they're trapped in that, and no one knows about it. Maybe they're not like you. Did your wife knew about your collection, or she just brought it out one day and you?
Oh, she found it. Yeah, that's right.
So they're caught. You understand that world, and someone's sitting here They've got that problem, no one knows about it, and they're thinking through the implications of even telling anybody about it. What's your advice to them?
First of all, don't tell the West Australian newspaper.
Melbourne Truth is better.
Don't tell the Melbourne Truth.
Yeah, well, they're no longer going, I think.
But tell someone.
Yeah.
You can't stop alone. You tell somebody. That's the first step. Then with a lot of prayer, you go one day. You make that decision to go one day without engaging in that sin. See, Jesus says, he that commits sin becomes the slave of sin. That's the definition. The word is sin, really, not pornography.
Yeah.
And the idea is you just don't do it today. Now, I've been talking to people, they come here in the church, that they come and have a problem. Okay, how long can you go without doing? Because you've got to convince the Lord that you're fair dinkum.
Yeah.
Because people go around saying, oh, I want to quit drugs, I'd want to stop smoking dope, I want to give up the porn and this and that. Oh, yeah, okay, well, what about all the stuff in the bottom drawer? When are you going to get rid of that? And the answer is, no, first of all, you do the best you can on your own. Then you go to the next meeting of anything at Riverview, and you go for prayer, and you tell the person you're praying with that you've now gone for 3 days without smoking dope, without this or not, whatever it is, and you want to pray and ask God to remove the compulsion, and he will do it. He does it every time. See, God heals drug addicts and other addicts like me all the time. It happens. It's constantly happening to the worst alcoholics and so on. They're getting healed. Problem? They go across the street to the pub to celebrate. They say, oh, I'm feeling really good, so one won't hurt.
Yeah.
And back they are again. So this idea is to really grab a hold of as much abstinence as you can. See, there's a real problem with the language that we have here now, because the word abstinence is it's a really yucky kind of a word. And what you need, though, is a clean brain for a certain good chunk of time.
Yeah.
And then God can talk to you. If God tries to talk to you while you're still smoking dope, he doesn't do it. I mean, a piece of pie talked to me while I was smoking dope. It said hello, you know what I mean? The bushes were following me down the street, you know what I mean? And,
So what about, so pornography, and to the broader thing, not just the whole sexual, we've got a lot of young people here, we've got a lot of single people. The culture now is, morality's kind of, as long as it's safe sex, meaning do it but don't, wear a condom, sort of, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But that whole, a promiscuous lifestyle is inherently dangerous.
Absolutely. Well, again, I think you know the ministries, and Cy Rogers, for example, who has preached here. Listen to what the people say who used to do it and now do not. Yeah. Pay attention, with substantial recovery. Yeah. Not the ones that have just written the book and gone public and, but the people with substantial recovery, people like Cy Rogers that have come out of sex addiction or whatever it is, listen to what they say and do what they say because they know. And unfortunately, the government experts, the sociologists, psychologists, and so on, are not really always that reliable when it comes to these problems.
Okay. We're going to draw to a close in just a second. I've got my glasses off and I can't see any clock and I've got no idea what the time is, so I'm happy to keep talking. But what is the time?
I don't know.
Huh? 7:20. Oh, we've got minutes.
Oh, good.
The other thing, one other thing is the whole humility pride thing.
Oh, yeah.
That pride was a big part. And again, there'll be people here, and pride, you kind of know about yourself. And so there'll be people here thinking, I know my problem is the pride thing.
Yeah.
And you've battled that, and you've humbled yourself, and God's created an environment through which it's become easier for you to humble
That's
yourself,
right.
I guess. You
Was
still
the
do it
best thing
yourself.
that ever happened to me was getting that bad publicity. I mean, my way of humbling myself, like I got down on my knees in 1980. I'd been totally alcohol and drug free, but nothing was going well. They didn't want me in Australia. My second wife was about to leave me because she thought I was becoming a religious fanatic, which is partly true. You go from one extreme. Look at St. Paul. You go from one extreme to the other.
Were you as bad, like, you know how you were telling everyone to give up drinking? Were you like
Oh, yeah.
telling everyone they're going to hell?
Oh, yeah. I would have really got stuck
You'd have been
into
great.
it.
We wouldn't have invited you to a barbecue.
I know, no,
With our
not to
own
the
church
wine and
friend.
cheese party. No.
Okay.
Well, if you did, you'd...
Yeah,
And I didn't handle myself well. See, we sound self-righteous, but actually I was scared to death. I was afraid I was going to relapse.
Yeah.
And if I get to be friendly with you and you can drink socially, then then maybe I'll, make the mistake. So I got to,
Yeah.
And all of that happens in recovery. And the recovered addict, it's like reformed smokers and so on and so forth, we're a pain in the neck. It's really difficult to deal with us. But we do know one thing that a lot of people don't know, and that is how to quit. And so we're useful in that way. And I was able to help a lot of people, bored to death a lot of people that thought, well, why is he talking about that again when he shouldn't have done it in the first place, and why not just shut up about it,
So
and get on?
the pride thing, how do you, if pride's your big problem, what's a very 30-second sort of answer on how do you, because that's the hard one to me, is in that pride pushes God away.
Well, it's not enough just to say you're humble, because I got really proud of my humility there at a couple of points in. But it's the things that I did, like being doorman in the church with the door greeter ministry. And there were some other things in those days that when I finally surrendered to God, I said, oh, dear God, please, I have this PhD, and I'd rather not pass out tracts on the street corner if it's at all, I will go to one of those revival meetings where they all clap on the beat. But I said, I'd rather, because I had to pass out tracts in Melbourne on the street corner with my partner, who is practically a midget. Little Joe. And I learned more psychology on the doorman job and with Joe and doing these things.
So it's what you're doing rather than what you're thinking.
Yes, that's
action.
right.
Okay.
That's absolutely right.
Just before we close, one of the things with Timothy Leary, it seemed that suicide was something that happened around LSD, I guess.
Oh, lots of people did.
Lots of people killed themselves, lots of young people.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of that anger was directed at
Leary.
By
parents and friends.
And I'm aware now, we've got a lot of people in this room, and there'll be people who've had thoughts of suicide, been thinking about it, life goes bad, and suicide becomes like almost back then it became a trendy option, didn't it? It almost became cool and chic. What would you say to people who've had those dark thoughts come to them?
You murder your former self. Don't kill yourself. No. Yourself is God's greatest creation.
Yeah.
But it's the old Charles, the one that's living in the past.
Yeah.
The Bible says, nail him to the cross.
Yeah.
That's where you got to let God kill off. It's not to forget the past, but it's to detach from the person that's living in the past.
Yeah.
So that you can treat that as though it were a different person, and you can look objectively about it and so on. The problem is that we're attached to our old selves. We're attached to our PhDs. Jesus said to Nicodemus, Nicodemus had the PhD.
Yeah, he came at night, didn't he?
But he snuck around to Jesus at night, so nobody would see him, because Jesus was an amateur.
Yeah.
Jesus didn't have any degrees at all. No. He just did miracles, He just healed people.
That's right.
Who crucified him? The Galilean Medical Association, probably. What do you want? Some guy runs around and healing everybody for free. So Nicodemus came at night. Nicodemus came at night, and he was different. He was a top professional. So he came on and he said, in effect, in my way of thinking, what I would have said, he said, Jesus, I know, I'm not like all those others. I know that you're doing good work here, that this is of God. So I just want you to know that Jesus looked at him and said, you have got to be born again. Meaning, Charles, you got to get rid of your PhD concept of knowing it and being better than others. You've got to join the human race. You've got to start all over again from scratch. Yeah. And there's no other way for you. Yeah. You can't just modify your current position and think that you're going to make it. Yeah. The average street addict can do that. Yeah. You follow Jesus, you're fine, but not the scribes and Pharisees. You see, he said, whoa unto you PhDs, because now I'm not trying to discourage people from getting PhDs, because if the Lord is leading you on that path, but thinking that you're fundamentally different from other people and that you somehow or other see, I was a genius. Here's a good thing to finish on. Yeah. I can tell you how to be a genius. It's not hard to be a genius. There are smart geniuses, there are stupid geniuses. Genius is a role, okay? And the way you be a genius is this. It's a 3-step process. First, you tell everybody you are one. You let them know in one way or another that you're a genius. The world divides in two. There are those who believe you and those who don't. You hang around with those who believe you. That's all there is to it. Problem, it's very lonely.
Hey, well, look, I really appreciate you coming in, sharing,
I appreciate being able to tell this stuff.
Your journey and being vulnerable enough to say, here's where I went wrong. And the fact that you've encountered God, that you've been following Christ.
Absolutely.
And for years, that God's restored stuff, and He's been bigger than our wrong decisions and reinforces our right decisions. And here you are, inspiring and helping a whole lot of other people. So you've got to stay humble.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. And, that's right. Sue keeps me.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. But we really appreciate you coming and sharing your journey. And I think one of the things we tend to do, we kind of actually lose sight of the fact that people who've lived a long time on the life in the world and had experiences and been honest about their journey have a whole lot of wisdom on the inside, which we need. That just in our own age group and just our own mates, it's good, but at the same time, especially young people, make sure you get older people as well at different ages who know stuff, but often don't speak unless they're asked. Because we all need the wisdom from the generations, from the fathers and the grandfathers and from the youth, to make it. And so thank you so much for being part of that.
Well, it's wonderful
Everyone
to
here.
be
How
here.
about
Thank
you?
Wonderful. That's really good. Thank you.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that. Rarely do we do an entire message as a discussion like that. Charles is going to hang around a bit, and if you have any specific things you want to talk to him about, then hang around. He needs to probably go at some time because he's been working hard today and doesn't go to church this often on one day. But we really appreciate you coming and sharing. And you might be here tonight, and I think the message just requires some kind of response. And the message is about the importance of making decisions and how the danger is not making decisions, kind of think they're going to happen automatically. And listening to someone else's story and thinking, oh, that's interesting, but actually not applying it, to your own life. And so we got to make decisions. And so you could fit in a whole bunch of areas. And I'm just asking, what is God pointing His finger at in your life? What is He putting His finger on? Not in a condemning way, but in a sort of, you don't have to put up with that anymore. It might be a pride thing. You might have a real problem with pride, and you know it. And I'm just going to challenge you to make a decision to say, God, help me. I'm going to see this year, I'm going to battle pride. I'm actually going to take it on. And at the end of the year, I'm going to be further down the journey towards humility. I'm going to read the stuff. I'm going to listen. I'm going to actually do something that will work against it. But I am going to make a challenge against that giant in my world, that baggage that I've picked up, whatever it is. It might be pornography. It might be a sexually permissive way. And you kind of think that you're being cool, but really it's got you. And you're not your own. You're pushing the elevator button, but it's not doing what you want to do. It's controlling you. So it might be that area. Again, can I challenge you? Make the decision. I'm going to defeat this. And as Charles said, it's not going to be come forward, get prayer, and everything's all over and fine in one day. No, it's actually a decision followed with tenacity and persistence and prayer and talking to people and just getting help. And it may take time, Just like your journey to coming to God took time, took years of kneeling down. You might need to put the shoes under the bed tonight, hey? And just if you're not praying, just say, I'm going to start every day with prayer. Because I'm just leaving God out of the equation. My life's like the picture of Jesus entering Brussels, and he's lost somewhere. Don't know where he's at. I know he's there. I think he's there. He might have gone. But I need to make a decision to actually re-establish the lordship of Christ in my life. I need to recommit, make a spiritual decision. You might be lazy. You might be just not doing, you're not industrious. You don't do anything. And you kind of just, on like an elevator, just hoping, like one of those moving walkways where you're just floating along and just see whatever happens. Whatever happens, without taking the power of choice, which is a God-given thing, saying, no, my life in the future will be what I sense God's leading me, but there are key decisions I need to make about my character, about my life. Relational, and there's so many different things. So can I challenge you? I haven't got time to go through all the different decisions that could be made, but all of us probably know of a decision we need to make. And I'm going to pray that some great decisions are made just for the next minute or two, that are not just the next minute or two, but they actually are a domino that lead to action and change and life this year. Hey? How about you? Close your eyes and bow your heads. Father, we